All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Micah here for a few minutes and just basically just talking about like taking a key and kind of jamming around in the key and trying to figure out where the notes are and so forth. So we're not really on a major structure here. We're just kind of getting generic and just getting right into some of the main points of how to find the different notes and play around with the key and improvise, right? So, and we're going to take like the key of C, for example, starting on this C note on the 8th fret. Maybe you know some of your scales. I recommend learning your scales and modes and so forth, like C major and, E major. These are the same fingering there, same positioning of the fingers as I go down the fretboard on that particular key, but I'm just moving the notes up and down and just starting from a different note to play that key. So if I'm in the key of C, playing this particular Ionian mode, we got starting out with the second finger on the 8th fret here on this E string. It's a C note, right? So next note, and these are all natural notes, so there's no sharps and flats because it's the key of C major, right? Or the key of C for short. So unless we say minor, we're talking about the key of C major, right? If it's the key of C, that means the key of C major, right? So we're playing the first mode in the key of C, right? The first, starting from the C note, which is the first note in the key of C major, which makes sense, right? So when we're starting out on that first note, we want to play the major notes, the notes from the major scale. And in that case, like I said, no sharps or flats with the key of C. So we're starting from the C note and just playing down the strings, playing the scale in the key of C major. So C, D, and you can see I'm going 2, 4, right, from the 8th fret to the 10th fret. C, D, that's 2, 4. And then E, F, G, that's 1, 2, 3. Right? And you see this one here starting out on this 8th fret. This one here is starting out on the 7th fret with the first finger. So we're keeping them in this box of 4 frets with this specific mode. Ionian mode is what it's called, right? So we're taking that C note and going 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 2, 4. 1, 2. And we're ending up on a C note again here on this E string, as long as you're tuned to the standard tuning C, A, D, G, B, E, right? When they're all open, right? So those notes, you should be tuned up, right? So playing this C, this key of C, like I said, I went 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, right? And then I play it backwards. Right, and actually I'm in the key, I'm tuned down actually, so my notes aren't even really, let me tune it back up to, I'm tuned to a drop D tuning, so I want to have this really wasn't tuned to an E note, it was tuned to a D note, this low E string, so it was really a D string for a moment there, but I'll make sure I'm tuned up to an E. And then we'll go ahead and do that key of C scale, right? We're starting out from a C note, right? Normally, that's a C note, but with the string tuned down a whole step, this was actually, a B flat note. So, but now it's a C note again. So we're going, like I said, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, right? So, and that's a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? Those two are C notes. D on the next string, D, E, F, G, A, B, C again. Alright, so we got 3 C notes there. Run right there, and then 2 frets down, 2 strings down, or I should say 2 frets up, because we're going up in pitch. But those 2 notes are C notes, and then this is also a C note, so there's 3 C notes in there. Because we're going through 2 octaves, if you will, right? So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, that's 7 notes, and then you start with C again, that's your 8th note, making it a full octave, if you will, and then hence the name octave. But so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then what do we do from there? We repeat it again, going down to those next frets, right? So D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So once you know that Ionian mode, you can kind of play around in any key if you want, as long as you know the starting note, right? So we just need to know the rest of the notes on this string, and we can play the rest of those major keys. So if we're in the key of C here on the 8th note, what is the next note one fret up from that? If you know your musical keys, you know it's a C sharp, right? It's one fret up from the C. The C does have a sharp. Not every note has a sharp, but C has a sharp, right? So we move up a fret to C sharp. We can play the exact same positioning in these 4 frets instead of these 4 frets. So we go up to C sharp and play from the 2nd fret there. It's going to be the 9th fret here, right? You can see we're on this dotted 9th fret, right? So I'm on the 9th fret playing from a C sharp, and I'm playing those notes with the same exact fingering. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2. And we're ending up with those 3 C sharps, right? They're just a fret higher than we were playing the C, all of them, right? Because that's C sharp is the next note in the 12 chromatic semitone pattern of Western musical nomenclature and music. So, like I said, C sharp here, play that same positioning, and now we're playing in the key of C sharp major. The song is in the key of C sharp, or C sharp major, more specifically, same thing. Then all we need to do is just go to the C sharp note and just start playing that Ionian mode. And, we can start improvising with it. Do some stuff with it, like I'm kind of stretching outside of it, and you'll learn that. You can probably start hearing some of the notes outside of that box that are still in this key. In this case, the key of C major, right? Like, if there's a half step here, like this 1, 3, 4, I automatically know the next note is a whole step, 2 frets away, because there's never 2 half steps in a row in Western musical scale nomenclature. Now there's more exotic scales and so forth, and some of those might have like 3 notes in a row, chromatics, and some different patterns that aren't what the normal general Western music culture is, which probably 95% of the music that you listen to, it fits within this Western musical culture of 12 chromatic semitones and playing this certain pattern of a major key, right? And this pattern is, if you notice when I'm doing this, I'm moving up by whole steps and half steps and whole steps, etc. We could play these notes for the key of C right here. I'm on the key of C, not C sharp, but back down here in the key of C on the 8th fret. Either one, the principle's the same. The patterns, well, it's all the same. It's just moved up a fret or down a fret. And like I said, if I'm from C sharp, I can go to D, play the same exact finger pattern. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2. Right, and that's, sorry, I have a bird here that gets kind of startled, but playing that same exact Ionian mode from the D note, right? That's going to be what key? The key of D, right? So I'm just saying, we're starting out an any note playing Ionian. We're playing in that key. I can go down here to this G note on the 3rd fret, right? I can play in the key of G major. Now, I can play other notes from the key of G major or C major that aren't in that same particular positioning. Like if I'm playing in the key of C major, I'm playing this Ionian mode, there's still notes over here and over here that are in the key of C major as well. But they're going to be in different finger patterns, right? They're going to be what we call different modes, because they're going to start out on different notes of the key of C major, or whatever key we're talking about. In this case, like C major on this 8th fret. If you notice the 2nd note was this 4 note right here, that's moving up a whole step. We're passing this C sharp and we're going to D, right? C, C sharp, D, right? So if I'm going to D, I'm going up a whole step from C to C, from D, C to D, because I'm skipping a fret, right? I'm skipping a half step, or a chromatic semitone, right? I'm skipping one, I'm going a whole step up. So, and really the next note that I'm playing here, this 1 on the next string, is really the same thing as moving up a whole step to this note on this string. So this note is the same thing as this note down here, right? And they should match. They're not maybe not perfect intonation right at the moment, but the idea is they should match, in this case being an E note, because we went from C to D to E, But instead of going up on one string, we went C to D to E, right? So same thing up here. If this is from E, F, G, right? This is E, F, G, right? So we can see it's just each string is just 5 frets down from each other, or whatever, 6 frets, you know, like away from each other. Like this 12th fret on this E string is the same thing as this 7th fret on this A string, right? Both E notes, right? Both E notes. So whatever pattern is up here, you know, we can play it. You know, it's down here, 5 frets down, the same exact pattern. It might be in a different string, so it might have a slightly different timbre to it, right? So that's the reason why you might want to play that riff in a certain area for whatever reasons. But so, and that's the same thing with the next string down too. Like, you know, it's just down a few more frets, 5 more frets, and so forth. The only one that's different is between this G string and this B string. They're a fret closer, just like when we tune the guitar to the 4th fret over here on the G string and the open B string. So instead of the 5th fret like we do with the other strings, so that one's going to be a fret closer with anything that we do going down the fretboard, if we will. So once again, going back over to the key of C, Ionian mode, and then moving that anywhere we want to play another key, like say G on the 3rd fret, because we know this is a G note, or G sharp, play from the key of G sharp, which is 1 fret up from the G note. It's on the 4th fret, right? You know, and there's other modes. So like I said, going back to the key of C in the 8th fret. So you can see how we went from, instead of doing this, we went, right? So, but I can go up here and start from the 2nd fret right here, the 2nd note in the key of C, the D note on the 10th fret, and put my 2nd finger there, and I can go 2, 4, and then I have to stretch back 1, because you remember we're over here, we're playing, the 2nd string is 1, 2, 4, so when we're over here, we have to go down here to this stretch back 1, and play that note, because that was in that same pattern over here. So now it's over here. So we're just moving everything up 1 note in the key of C, right? In the key of C. Everything up 1 note in the key of C, which sometimes might be a half step, sometimes maybe a whole step, depending on where we are in that sequence of key of C notes. Like I said, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right? Now, those notes follow a certain pattern. In a major scale, we're starting from a C note. Like I said, we're moving up a whole step to D. We're moving up another whole step to E. Right? So that's what we call 2 whole steps, right? 2 whole steps. Right? So 3 notes are 2 whole steps, you know, moving up. So C to D is a whole step, skipping a fret, and D to E is a whole step, skipping a fret. Now, the next one is a half step. So we're doing this pattern. It's called 2 whole steps and a half step, and then 3 whole steps and a half step. Now think of a piano, right? Look at a piano. What does it have? It has 2 black keys and then 3 black keys, right? What are those? Those are our sharps and our flats. All the white keys are the key of C, right? They don't have any sharps or flats. So all those keys we see on a piano, all the white keys, these are all these notes that I'm playing right here in the key of C. Right, so like I said, we're doing this whole step, starting from the C, going up 1 whole step to D, and then 2 whole steps to E. Then we're doing a half step to this F note on the 13th fret. It's F, natural, no sharps or flats. Then we're going 3 whole steps in a row now. So we just went 2 whole steps and a half step. Now we're doing the 3 whole steps, and then we're going to go a half step again. And we'll be back on our starting note, but we'll be an octave higher, right? So starting from C, it goes to D, E, that's 2 whole steps, then F, half step, and then first of 3 whole steps, it can be G, the 2nd whole step is A, the 3rd whole step is B, and then the last half step is C again, right? So you're wondering what are those notes that we're skipping? Like in the key of C, we're having to skip some notes. Well, those are our sharps and flats, right? Now there's 3 notes that have sharps, and there's two that have flats, and they could be They could be noted a couple of ways, right? We have what we call C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp, right? C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. So all we're doing is going to the natural versions of those notes and moving them up one fret. So if we're on the C note, on the 8th fret here, moving up one fret is a C sharp. If we're on the G note, moving up one fret is G sharp. If we're on the F note, moving up one fret is F sharp. Right? Now, if we say F, F sharp at G, now we could also call F sharp the same thing as a G flat. Right? So when we sharpen or flatten, we're going up in pitch if we sharpen it. We're going down in pitch if we flatten it. And when we just say sharpen or flatten, we're generally talking about a semitone, right? Just one fret in whichever direction. You can sharpen it up more than that, but that's probably going to be generally referred to as the next note. So like G, G sharp, if we're sharpening it up 2 notes, that's going to be an A, right? So now if there's a G and then there's a G sharp, there's not going to be an A flat after it. If there's a G and a G sharp, the next note is always A, right? If there's a C and a C sharp, then the next note's always D, right? It's not like they're going to be C, a C sharp, a D flat, and then a D, right? That doesn't happen, right? So it's just C, C sharp, and then D, or C, D flat, and D, right? C, C sharp, and D, or C, D flat, and D. But the standard way to say it, the standard way to refer to it is the B and the E have a flat, and the C, F, and G have a sharp. So like I said, once again, we have the C, and then we have a C sharp. We have the G, we have a G sharp. We have an F, we have an F sharp. We have a B, and we don't have a B sharp, we have a B flat. Right? Because we have E and B have a flat, and also on an E, that's the other flat, right? Obviously one fret down, or a half step, right? That's going to be E flat. So just remember that there's 2 flats and 3 sharps. They could be referred to as the opposite, like I say, E and E flat. E flat could be referred to as a D sharp. Kind of depends on what key you're in. And, it's according to classical music, what we usually call the circle of fifths. So depending on the key we're in, that could say, oh, this key has 3 sharps. And one of them might be like a flat note. It might be like normally called E flat, but it might be, for that key's sake, we say, oh, it has a D sharp. Right? But overall, it's the same note, same pitch, right? D flat, E flat and D sharp would be the same note. So hopefully that helps to clear that up a little bit. Now go back and watch some other videos, and I'm sure you're going to hear other people doing, all kinds of musical theory and going through classical music and how to read music and all that stuff. I recommend chewing on it one bit at a time if you find it a little daunting, right? But just, learning one new thing about it, how the notes fit onto a musical stave, stuff like that. So, but anyway, I'm just talking about this key, C, and moving it up here to the next note in the key of C and playing what we call the second mode, or Dorian mode, right? And this one has a different fingering than Ionian mode, right? Ionian was 2-4, 1-2-4, 1-3-4, 1-3-4, 2-4, 1-2. Dorian goes 2-4 and then stretch back 1, right? Stretch back a fret with the first finger, and then 1, and then 2. Right, we're skipping that fret right there, and then 4, right? So 1, 2, 4, right? There's a fret between each of those notes, and then we're doing back to not stretched back, but over here on the 9th fret, we're gonna go 1, 2, 4, and then the next string 1, 2, 4, next string 2, 4, next string stretch back 1, 2. And why is the stretch back? Well, that's our C note, for one thing. Right? That's our C note we're ending on, going down our Ionian mode over here. We ended on a C. So, obviously, when we go to the next mode, we're going to have it, it's going to be intertwined with this first mode. So, like I said, this string right here, we're playing the C note and the D note. we want to play D to E, we could do D to E, but we could also do D to E over here, right? 10th and 12th fret, D to E. F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Right, we're ending on D, because that's the note we're starting on, which is the second note, and hence the second mode in the key of C major, right? So now there's other modes here, so just to give you a little bit. And once I have that Ionian mode and the key, so I can play in the keys, and know that the Dorian mode, I can play around. I can play a C major chord, which is right here on this 8th fret. And then play around with it. Right, so there's other chords that fit in here. I can play other chords that are fitting in the key of C major, meaning that all of the notes that are in that chord are notes from the key of C major. So there's other modes here that go all the way up to where it connects to the other C and starts over with Ionian mode again. There's 7 of them because there's 7 notes. Or, if we repeat the first note again, it's called an octave, right? So starting from a C note, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or going down this way, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, same thing, right? We can play it up the string, or we can play it down to the next string, which is why the guitar strings are tuned from that 5th fret, so that way the positioning stays in one box as you go down the frets, and then the strings end up on the same note and the same fret. A C note, a D note, an E flat note, starting from a C note, C sharp, D, E flat, E, right, the 12th fret here, E, same thing as those strings both open, right, my first and my last string are both E strings. So hence they're the same note anywhere I play them on the same fret. G notes here, A note, B note, etc. Right? And kind of understanding this 12 note sequence, right? Starting from any note in the sequence. In this case, we were starting from C, and we're playing 7 of those notes, and playing and repeating it again to make the octave, playing the first note again an octave higher to make 8 notes for an octave. But if we add in those 3 sharps and those 2 flats for C, F, and G as 3 sharps, and 2 flats for B and E, then we have a total of 12 notes. 7 plus 5, right? 7 notes of natural notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, the 8th note, or the first note. It's the same thing, if you will, but making an octave, right? Or we can play all 12 notes, right, in that sequence. That means we're not going to skip any frets. We're going to go from C, and then to the next fret, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, I'm doing it again. C, D, E flat, F, F sharp. Anyway, it's kind of confusing actually, but let me see. We're going to do C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, A, B, flat, B, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, C sharp. I actually did it. I haven't really done it quite like that in the past, just playing every note, but we could just play them all up on one string too, right? C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, right? So, like I said, and just remember that B and E both have a flat, and then C, G, and F, or C, F, and G have a sharp. So that'll make up your 12 notes. As long as we know that 12 note sequence, we can start from any note in that sequence. And then we could even start in any note in that sequence and play this pattern of 2 whole steps and a half step and 3 whole steps and a half step to play the notes from that major key, right? So in all the other keys, you're going to have some sharps and flats, right? Because the pattern is not going to just fall perfectly on all the natural notes. It's going to fall on some sharps and flats. So if we're on C, playing this Ionian mode, and we move up to C sharp, start playing Ionian mode, is first note C sharp. The second note isn't just D. The second note is E flat. C sharp, D, E flat. Right? We know that C has a sharp, so if there's a D, we know the note right before it has to be C sharp. Right? One fret before it has to be C sharp because there's a C sharp, or D flat, whatever you want to call it. But it's the same note, right? Because the note right before that is C on the 8th fret once again. So we got our C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, right? And then F. We know that F has a sharp, so it's F sharp or G flat, same thing. Then the next note, G, on this 15th fret here, which is the same as this 3rd fret, right? They're both G notes. So if we're playing G Ionian over here, in the key of G major, we could also do it up here on the 15th fret, same exact fingering. Right, and play the key of G major there. Right, so whatever note we're starting out on in that first string, and just going through them again. I mean, with this string right here is an E string, so tuned open, it is an E note. So what's the next note? Logically, we know the sequence of the letters A through G, right? And then it repeats itself, A through G, A through G, A through G. But what is that sequence? Well, we know that we have the E note here. The next one in the alphabet is F, right? We know that E doesn't have a sharp, F doesn't have a flat, right? We know that F has a sharp, we know that E has a flat. So the next note going from E is just F, right? There's no E sharp, there's no F flat, right? So it's E, F. What is F? What do we say F does have, though? F has a sharp, right? So the next note's going to be F sharp. Or G flat, same thing. But E, F, F sharp, G, right? So, or E, F, G flat, G, same thing. But for standard purposes, we're calling it F sharp on the 2nd fret, right? So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A on the 5th fret, right, which should tune to your 2nd note, your 2nd string open, A notes, right? But so E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. A doesn't have a sharp or flat. It's just the next note is, we would think B, right? But B has a what? A flat. So we go A, B flat, B, right? So A, B flat. If there's a B flat, there's going to be a B, right? So, and then the next note, B doesn't have a sharp because it has a flat. If there's a B flat, there's not going to be a B sharp, right? So there's a B flat, B, C, right? We know we don't have a C flat because we have a C sharp. If there's a C sharp, there's not going to be a C flat, right? C flat would be the same thing as a B. So you might as well just call it a B, right? So B, C, C sharp, because C has a sharp, D, right? D doesn't have a sharp or flat, unless we're saying D sharp for the same thing as E flat, which is here on this 11th fret, right? We call it E flat standard, right? So D, E flat, E, again, on the 12th fret. Same thing as your open string. Both E notes, right? And this is an E string down here. You can kind of make sure it all makes sense if you want to match it up in different places, right? So this is just to help you understand the scales and the modes a little bit in some respect. The first couple of modes, and you can go back and watch them too. You can even look them all up. I mean, there's certainly more diagrammed versions of it, but the idea here is to show you how they would maybe tie in and how you would identify how to maybe improvise in a key quickly without necessarily having to know too much. You could just know this Ionian mode, maybe the Dorian mode too, and you could still do a bit of improvising with just those. And then from there, you kind of hear a bit of the rest, you know, learn another mode, you know, next week or something like that. But doing this Ionian mode, I do all kinds of stuff with it, so you can practice playing all kinds of, you're not just playing like just the scales, like you want to play like, you know, different notes within it. Think of something that sounds interesting, a style, a percussive rhythmic feel or something, and play some of those notes out of this Ionian mode here. 2 4 1 2 4 1 3 4 1 3 4 2 4 1 2. And then even start making like little chords out of those notes. Just any of those notes that fit within that box for playing that pattern. So I might take this 2 here, because I know that's one of the notes. And this 1 over here, that's one of the notes. And this 3 over here on the next string, that's one of the notes in the key. So I could do, right? I can maybe play around, maybe move this up just 1 fret to here. See how that sounds. Or move this finger up 1 fret, because I know that's a note, and I can even switch them around so it's a little bit better to play, or play it just 1 finger. Or I could do, you know, these are 3 notes in this key of C, and here are these notes, just playing them in different combinations and kind of hearing what sounds interesting. And just kind of try to come up with something in just this box without having to be too intricate, but just playing these notes. And even if you want to play this C major chord, you can see this C major chord all consists of notes from within this key of C major. All these notes. It's just a first, third, and a fifth note out of this key of C major that make up a C major chord. Right? So what's the first note was C. What's the third note? Well, the second note is D, right, in the key of C. And the third note is E, right? So C and E are 2 of the notes that make up a C major chord, right? So and then we have the one that's the first and third note in the key of C. C and E, right? And then, like I said, it consists of 1, 3s, and 5s to make up the major chord, first major chord of any particular major key. Key of C major, the first chord being C major, obviously, because it's in the key of C major, so the C would have to be major in order for it to make sense, generally speaking. So, you know, if we play the second, we play the C, we're taking the first, third, and fifth note. The first note is C, the third note is E, and the fourth note is F, but skipping over that to the fifth note is G, right? So C's, E's, and G's are these notes in this C major chord are all just C's, E's, and G's, right? Here we have a C, we have a G, so a C, a G, and then another C, and then we have an E, and then we have a G, and then another C. Right, so you see it has 3 C's in there. It only has 1 like G, I think, right? So let me see, C, D, E, F, G. Maybe it had 2 G's. Sorry, 2 G's and just 1 E, right? The E is the third note in the key of C major, right? So you know, C, D, E, right? Now, what if we wanted to make it a C minor, which is in a different key? The key of C minor, we would simply take that third note from that key of C major and flatten it by 1 fret, and that would make it minor, right? So we're playing the C major chord right here with these. Maybe you can see this fingering right here. We have these 2 on the same fret on these A and D string here, right? And then we have this one here on the next string down from those 2 in the middle here. That's a C major, right? So, and all those notes are, you know, it's all from the key of C major, right? I mean, what if we moved every note up to the next note in the key of C major? You know, real quickly, just doing that minor chord, I'm trying to show you actually the C major. All we're going to do is flatten the third, which in this case is this 1 note here. It's an E note. We want to flatten it down to an E flat, right? We're only going to move it down 1 fret, and that means we just simply take it off because we have the bar here making the next chord, the next fret down. So instead of playing C major, just take this off and make it a minor. So instead of the 1, 3, and 5, the 1 and the 5 would still be the same, but this 3 note here would be a fret down, right? So that's the same thing as what we were playing down here when we went to play that minor chord. So we're just flattening that E note that's in that chord. So that's how we'd switch from a C major to a C minor chord easily. But like I was saying, what if we want to take the first chord, the C major chord, and move up to the next chord, make a chord out of the next note in the key of C while staying in the key of C major, right? We'd want to move every note up from this C chord one note in the key of C major. And that just so happens to land on these notes over here that would make a D minor chord. So just like we made C minor over here with just these two fingers on here, and we took this one off, we'd move up here and just play the same exact fingering, but 2 frets higher, starting with the D note as our root note and making it a D minor, right? So C major to D minor. So moving every note up here that we were playing in the C major chord up one note in the key of C, not necessarily a half step or a whole step strictly, but whatever is the next note in the key of C, they all fall on the notes that would make up a D minor. Right. Now the third scale, or the third mode, would start from an E note, because that's the third note in the key of C. That's what we call a Phrygian mode. And I'm not going to get into the exact fingering of all that. You can maybe hear it if you try to play it, but it would start out on the third note in the key of C, which would be the E note. And from there, we have a half step, because that's that first half step. Like you start from a C note, you go whole step, and then half step. So from that E note, the next note would be just a half step up. And then the next one's kind of stretch. They all stretch back one with this first finger, playing like a one. You can kind of see a little bit from the next 3 strings. And then the next one is just 2, 4, 2, 3 on the 12th and 13th fret. And then we stretch back one again on the D note and then play the E note. So that's what we call Phrygian. So I'm not going to go through all of them in real super detail, but if we move up to the Phrygian mode and play that chord, that associated chord, the E chord, it would also be minor, right? So we, playing in the key of C major, we could play the chord of C major, we could play the chord of D minor, we could also play the chord of E minor, right? So the first, second, and third chords go major, minor, minor, right? Now, then we have the 4th and 5th chords in that key. So like I said, they would be associated with the 4th and 5th note. So we have the C, D, E, that's 3. That's 1, 2, 3, right? The 4th note in the key is C, once again, is F. Just a half step high up, right? Like we were just talking about. And the F is then going to go to a G, because that's the first of the 3 whole steps, right? So F and G are both in the key of C major. The notes of F and G, so they're going to have a corresponding chord. And because they are the 4th and 5th notes in the key of C major, they are actually going to fall on the major version of those chords. So, and it's kind of hard to play it up here, but this would be an F major. I can try to eke it out. F major, same thing as down here on this 1st fret. I'm just playing it on the 13th fret, same chord even, So not easy to play it there, but playing F major. Then I could go up 2 frets and play G major there, which is the same thing as a G major bar chord down here, just an octave higher, right? But it's the same, essentially the same chord, right? It's the G major. So we're playing F major, G major. That's on the 1st and the 3rd frets. We could play them up here on the 13th and the 15th frets if we were able to reach that. We could at least play the notes, So anyway, playing the key of C, we're simply moving up every note in the key of C to formulate the next chord, the next corresponding chord. Now, just generally speaking, the way it works is the first chord is major. Like I said, the 2nd and 3rd are minor. The 4th and the 5th are major. Right? And then the 6th is minor again. And the last one, the 7th note, before we repeat the cycle, and the 8th note, making the full octave and chord, full chord style voicings, that 7th note is what we call a diminished chord, or it could also be called a major 7, minor 7, sorry, a minor 7, flat 5. And we say minor 7 in flat 5, all it really means we're taking the 7th note out of the minor version of that key and adding that to the chord. So the minor version's basically the same thing as a major version, but it's a different key. So we're taking the C major chord. Now if I was to go to the 6th note in the key of C, the 6th note is A, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, here on this 17th fret. Same thing as this A on this 5th fret, right? So we have this, start getting to A is the 6th note, and that has its own mode, what we call Aeolian mode. And in that Aeolian mode is what we make up a minor pentatonic scale from. So you might have seen, like, playing the blues, you know, you might start like an A minor. We would start at the A note and play just these 5-note scale that goes like A, C, D, E, F, or what, I don't know the exact notes offhand, but it's just going to go through these 5-note pattern that's going to make up a blues type of scale. Well, I can even add an extra little chromatic note in between in a couple of areas that gives me this extra bluesy feel to it, kind of like a typical blues type of sound. You know. But really there's more notes to it. These 5 notes are just taking 5 pentatonic notes out of this arrangement of notes, right? Which are really the same notes as the key of C major. So A minor, starting on this A note, plays a pattern of notes, which is actually all from the key of C major. There's no sharps or flats in here for one thing, but it actually ties right in, and you can see that the 2nd note in this key of A minor is the 8th fret right up here where we were playing the C major, right? So that A minor corresponds to the C major. And in fact, they are the same notes in key. If we play from this A, we're playing like a minor scale. It's all the same notes as the key of C major, but we're starting out using our A note as the root, the bass note, or the root note of this key. And it's called we call it A minor, right? Because the way the notes would fall, going from this A note, this 2nd note here is this B note. The 3rd note is not two whole steps. It's a whole step and a half step. It's just starting out from a different place in the key of C major. It's just starting out from the A note. So it's going to tie right into all the same notes from the key of C. So we went from A. I could skip the B if I want to play the blues version. It has just 5 notes in it. I'm skipping the B and probably the E or one of the other notes. I can't remember exactly right offhand, but you can get into the theory and, like I said, watch some other videos and get different perspectives. This is just to help you get one perspective here, right? But an A minor and a C major, they fit together. And, don't get me wrong, this one's an A chord, but the A note here is the root. This is they're 2 different chords, but they both are playing nothing but notes from the key of C major. No sharps or flats, right? So, and then I can also play this D minor chord down here, and then this E minor, right? Because we talked about, D and E minor, D and E chords being minor because they're the 2nd and 3rd notes in the key of C, right? So they're minor, and they're down here too as well. We had the D minor over here, which is playing, I don't know if you might be familiar with some of these chords, but D minor and E minor, they play the same way, just 2 frets apart. But we can also play them down here with this kind of fingering. We can see we're on the 7th fret with the bar, and then these 2 right here on the middle 2 strings of 1 fret, 2 frets away, and then this one down here on this B string, just 1 fret away. Now we're playing a D minor, right? And go to E minor. What's between them? E flat minor, right? Because we know E has a flat. So as long as the fingering is the same, it's going to be a minor chord. If I wanted to play a major, I'd have to sharpen the 3rd note, which in this case is this note. So we'd have to sharpen that up by moving it up a fret. Now, it's not easy to do it when we have it fingered like this, So we just change these fingers to like this, to where these 3 strings are all being played on the same fret. Some people like to play it with like one finger like that, but I prefer to play it like this, just using all 3 fingers to play on the same fret. So it might feel a little awkward if you're not familiar with it, but that would be the major version. So the D minor, D major, right? A minor, A major, A major. Just flattening the third, major third, minor third, right? Major third, minor third. Right, so we have our A minor, goes down to D minor, E minor, and we can play a progression out of that. You know, and then corresponds with the C major key, right? So we can go up here and play this C major, go down here and play this D major, or I'm sorry, F major, sorry, and G major, right? So same thing as a G over here. But so we're playing this C major, right? And we don't have the flattened third, we have it regular, but keeping the finger on there. And then down here to this F major, these 3 on the same fret, and G major. Right, so hopefully that helps you kind of get a little bit of the structure of like how they relate to each other, how to find, you know, play in any key you want. And, you know, like somebody says F sharp, but just go down to the 2nd fret because you know this is an F sharp note. Or like I said, E, F, F sharp, and just start playing that Ionian mode. Ionian mode. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2. And in that mode, there's no stretch backs or forward, so it's just all in one box of 4 frets, whatever box you're starting from, with the 2nd finger being your note that you're playing the key of. F sharp, G sharp, G. Same pattern, Ionian mode, right? G sharp, right? Same pattern, A major, right? And that was G sharp major, of course. These are all major because I'm playing Ionian mode, meaning that from that first note we do 2 whole steps, half step, 3 whole steps, half step. So we're starting from a G note, and playing the key of G major. Well, then we go 2 whole steps, half step, 3 whole steps, and then a half step to G again on the 15th fret. Right? So this is E open, and this is E on the 12th fret. Then this G is like 3 frets up from the E note, essentially. And then same thing up here. This E and this G, 3 frets up, right? So I'm gonna help you put that into perspective. You play the key of G down here, play it up here, Ionian mode, or you can learn the other modes and play in between them, you know. Staying in the key of G in this case. Right? I can just stay and play all over in the key of G, or back in the key of C, whatever, or B. Alright, so hopefully that gives you an idea of what I'm doing there. Whatever note I'm starting out in that key of, I can play that note on any string, right? So if I'm playing this C, D, E, F, G, etc., all I have to do is find the C note on the next string and play the exact same pattern. What's the C note? Well, we know it's 5 frets down, like just like we tune a guitar, right? So this C note right here, go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down a string, and that's it. So that's our C note again on this string. Which makes sense because open, that string is in A, then we have B flat, B, C. Makes sense, right? Then what comes next after C? Well, we know C has a what? A sharp. It's C sharp, D, E flat, E, same as this E. Right? So F sharp, G, G sharp, A. So your A note should be as a 12th fret. Right, so hopefully it helps you to kind of learn the fretboard better, maybe understand how to derive a couple of the simpler versions of chords. All kinds of different versions of chords. Like I said, minor 7 flat 5 was just one example. We could have, a D minor 7. I could play this A minor or an A minor 7 or an A major 7. I'm just taking a note from whatever type of key. If it's the major key, I'm taking the 7th note out of the major version of an A key, of a key of A. An A major. If it's an A minor 7, I'm taking the 7th note out of the A minor key, which is the same as the key of C, but I'm counting from the A note to find the 7th note, right? And that part of the sequence. So like I said, we're starting from this A note right here, B, C, and that leads right into C. Like I said, we're starting with the A note, we're going a whole step and a half step. But the rest is still following the same as key of C, right? So it's whole step, half step, right back to C, and just continue from there. Whole step, half step, right? The 2 whole steps and a half step from key of C major or A minor, same thing, essentially, just starting from a different note in that key set, if you will, what we would call C major. The 6th note being A, or if we go up here, A, but we're going back to the previous octave playing that A, but essentially it's still the 6th note in the key of C, right? And so whatever octave it's at, it's an A note, it's still the 6th note in the key of C major. And that 6th note represents the corresponding minor once again. So C major, same thing as A minor, they correspond, right? So now they always relate like that. The C is 3 frets away, so from the C back down to A, we're going C, 1, 2, 3 to A, right? Or vice versa, A, 1, 2, 3 to C, right? So you can see that they relate 3 frets away from each other. Bezo. Okay, I think my bird took a bath. But anyway, what I'm talking about here is just how those minor corresponds with the major. It's the same anywhere you're at. So if I was to move up from the A note on the 5th fret here and go to the B flat, be playing B flat minor, the corresponding major to B flat, just like C to A, going up to B flat, the corresponding note is going to be C sharp. Right, C sharp, because we just moved both of them up 1 fret. When we moved up from A to B flat, we moved that up 1 fret. So therefore, the corresponding major has to be 1 fret up as well, from A to C to B flat and C sharp. Right, A to A and C, and then B flat and C sharp. Okay, so anyway, hopefully you get the idea there. 3 frets away from each other on whatever, that's going to be the corresponding minor and major. If I go down here to G sharp, and then go 3 frets down, 1, 2, 3 to F, that's the corresponding minor. F minor and G sharp major. And you can see they harmonize. They're in the same key, essentially. The key of G sharp major. Right, if we go to B major, 1 fret higher, and the corresponding minor is not going to be F sharp, or I'm sorry, what did I say? It was G sharp and F. So now B and F sharp. Right, now it's going to be, I'm sorry, no, that was A and F sharp. Sorry, now it's going to be B flat and G, and then B and G sharp, C and A. Right? C sharp and B flat. B flat minor. Same thing as C sharp major. Same key, essentially. Same notes. Just starting from a different mode. And it happens to be the 6th mode of the corresponding major key. So if it's the key of C, the 6th note being A, then that's the lead of the 6th mode. What we call Aeolian mode. Aeolian mode, right? The 6th mode in any major key. And that would be the corresponding minor key. So hopefully that's fitting into place a little bit there. Play your Ionian mode. Maybe your pentatonics, which are just really, an A minor if I just want to play the 5-note shortened version of the the scale, the blues version, the pentatonic version, I would just play 1 4 from this A note, right? A to C, 1 4, 1 3, 1 3, 1 3, 1 4, 1 4. So it's just 1 4 on the first string, 1 3, 1 3, 1 3 on the next 3 strings, right? And then the last 2 strings, 1 4, 1 4. There's really some notes missing in there that would be from the key of C. And if you're up here in the key of C, we notice like this is the C note on this high E string. And the note right before the C note in the key of C major is this B note, right? Which makes sense. That fits into this A minor. See, I'm playing. This is C, D, right? C, B, A, B, C, D, C, B, A. Right? Just going back and forth between these 4 notes. A, B, C, D. C, B, A. Right? So, and that's where the A note would start the corresponding minor to C major. So this is just a little lesson to help you kind of, like you say, understand the fretboard from a different perspective, possibly. You know, maybe that's like if you're an advanced guitarist, are probably like already know a lot of this stuff, so I'm not expecting this. I'm not trying to be redundant, but if you happen to get something out of it, please like and subscribe, and certainly encourage you to come back and even visit my other videos for more quick to the point tips, ideally, that can just kind of get you right on to, you know, learning something new about the fretboard, and how to play by ear better, how to learn songs by ear more, but also, you know, some of the more technical stuff that you might find from like learning classical music, you know, trills and vibrato and stuff like that. So, you know, like I say, in the beginning, kind of, it's more about just working your finger strength and, you know, building some accuracy and some speed, playing a lot, practicing a lot, learning some scales, learning the different modes, right? But like I said, we went through a bit here, just kind of identifying notes, of course, talking about a little bit of chord structure, and just talking about overall key structure. Right. Next thing you might want to be doing is learning how to identify the key of a song that you listen to, if you're not familiar with doing that. Right. So, but the first thing kind of comes into learning how a major scale sounds and developing your ear. So anyway, thanks for listening in. I encourage you, like I said, to like, follow, subscribe, and check out my other videos. And until next time, thanks for listening in.